Welcome back to Anonymous Automotive. This is another episode of Mass Drive, where I review a vehicle after a few days of driving. Today, we're reviewing the MG HS. This is a C-segment family SUV, and the competitors of this vehicle could be the Nissan Qashqai, the Hyundai Tucson. If you're looking a bit more premium, maybe the Peugeot 3008 or the VW Tiguan. And the USP of this vehicle is it offers the same equipment and size for a much lower price point, and it includes a 7-year warranty. This is the second generation MG HS. We had the first one from 2019 to 2024, and in this version from 2025 onwards. This version comes in 4 powertrain options and 2 trim types. I'll just run through those in a bit more detail. So the MG HS doesn't currently have a BEV or full electric option. There are many MGs in the lineup that offer that. But this comes in 4 versions of the 1.5 litre engine, and you get a 1.5 petrol manual 6-speed, you get the 1.5 petrol auto 7-speed gearbox, and then you get 2 types of hybrid. This is the mild hybrid, or what they call the Hybrid Plus, and then you get a plug-in hybrid, which gives you up to 75 miles of driving with a 27 kilowatt hour battery. And it also then comes in 2 trim options. You have the SC and the Trophy. The Trophy is about £2,500 more on every level, and it comes with multiple extras. So the cheapest MG HS in the SE trim starts at £26,495, and it goes all the way up to £35,000 for the Trophy in the plug-in hybrid. The SE comes with dual 12.3-inch displays, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, a rear camera, MG Pilot, which is some ADAS features, MG Smart, which is the MG app, and then for £2,500 extra you get the Trophy, which gives you heated front seats, which are a leather type material. They're also electric. You get a power tailgate, you get 8-speaker system, you get a 360 camera system, you get an MG iSmart, which allows you to unlock the car via your phone. You get a wireless charger, and you also get dual zone climate. So it's a significant amount of extra for £2,500. So I've reeled off some stats, but let's take a look at the exterior in a bit more detail. So starting with the front of the vehicle, we've got these narrow LED headlights with DRLs, this piano black strip, which doesn't stand out on the black paint, but on other colours it looks quite funky. New style MG badge. Moving further down, we have a front camera here which forms part of the 360 camera system on the Trophy spec. This here hides all of the ADAS features, so the radars and sensors are in here. Front parking sensors. Moving across, we've got fake vents for styling and front fog lights. Now all the versions of the MG HS, regardless of trim or powertrain, come with these 19-inch diamond cut wheels. So kind of diamond cut here and painted black in the middle. They look quite nice, but a reasonable sized tyre profile to stop you from curbing it. And moving on to the side, folding mirrors, again with the camera forming part of the 360 camera system. This kind of side shark fin. Moving across, normal handles with comfort access, and we've got some chrome trim along the roof rails and around the door. And moving to the back, we've got this roof spoiler, MG badging here. We've got this reverse camera, which is available on all specs, but on the Trophy it forms part of the 360 camera system. Reverse parking sensors. And moving down, we've got no fake exhausts. We do have tailgate opening, which was purely accidental, so you can kick your foot when you've got bags in there. We've got some carbon trim here, which looks quite nice. Okay, so that's the exterior. Let's look at the interior and then also the infotainment system. Okay, so looking at the interior of this HS Trophy spec, we've got a sporty size steering wheel, flat top and flat bottom with controls on either side, which we'll come on to. And then looking at the front, we have dual 12.3-inch displays for infotainment here and a digital instrument cluster. We have some physical buttons, leatherette, so kind of soft leather here, which is nice. We've got this grain surface piano black with some metal textures, also nice. Soft leather here. Moving down the center console, with it being auto, we have the gear selector here, some further switches. The main talking point is the color of this interior is fantastic. So it's tan leather, an additional £500 on top of the £2.5 you're paying for the trophy, but it does really set it apart from the standard black. And I've had a couple of comments when getting this car cleaned over the last couple of days that this interior does make a big difference. So it's one of those that I would probably pay the £500 just to get this interior. And on the doors, we've got soft leather on the top, soft leather on the sides, this leatherette finish here. We've got a nice contouring design over here, really solid looking door. We do have some scratchy plastics, but it's really low down on the footwells, and it's to be expected for this kind of price range vehicle, but overall a really pleasant interior. Now the first thing I realized when I got in this car is these seats are super comfortable. Apart from looking great with being tan, they're soft, electrically adjustable, so you've got movements forward and back, you've got incline and decline, and they are also heated, which is on the trophy spec. So again, it's a spec worth going for these bits and pieces. You get extra for the £2,500. And up here we've got a good sized visor with a mirror and an LED lamp. And on the doors we have a really good sized door pocket which fits a 2-litre bottle of water. However, it's scratchy plastics and there's no felt or rubber, so you do get pens or glasses rattling around a little bit. Now in the back here there is a good amount of room, so I've got a good amount of headroom here, good amount of leg room. The seat is very soft, and there's a lot of space underneath this seat here, so I can put my feet all the way underneath. So I wouldn't mind sitting here on a long journey for a few hours and be totally comfortable. This is quite a flat bench, so the third person in the middle won't be too uncomfortable. We'll do a seat test later on. And there is an armrest here if you don't have that third person, with a couple of cup holders here for extra storage. And on the back of the driver's seat we've got a useful storage pocket here. Again, it's not a net, so you can hide things in there, which is good. Moving on to the center, we've got an air vent and 2 USB-A sockets, which I'll talk about later. So there is a converter in here to make it USB-C, but overall a good amount of space. So looking at the tech in this vehicle, let's start with the steering wheel. We've got steering wheel buttons on either side. It's a heated steering wheel. We've got speech here, some audio controls. You can change the cluster display with this and end or start phone call. There are 2 configurable buttons here, so we've got one on this side, one on this side. So currently I have those for AC and for 360 camera, but you can configure those to wherever you use the most, which is really useful. So we have a useful 12.3-inch driver digital instrument cluster, which does have the map view if you prefer that, all of the bells and warnings going on, your gear selection indicator, doors open. It's quite a minimalist, simple layout. I think they spent a lot of time on this. Some of the Chinese oriented or designed vehicles do seem to be overkill, but they've kept it quite simple here, so it's quite a nice and simple instrument cluster to see. So the infotainment system is controlled by this 12.3-inch center display. It's all touchscreen, so this is the home view here. We have configurable widgets, so you can again add what you like or what you use the most, and you can go to the normal app selection menu here. So on this customizable home screen we have a weather widget which shows the forecast. We have climate control here, so again there's no physical buttons for climate apart from the regulation front and rear demist, so you need to go into the screen, which is one of my bugbears, that heated seats are one level down. There's another shortcut for heated steering wheel here as well as on the steering wheel, but again fairly simple and user-friendly interface. We have a media selection screen here, which you have AM, FM and DAB, or your USB or connected media, and the embedded navigation system. Again, I tend to use smartphones, but this is quite a nice looking embedded navigation system. I've used it a few times and I've got no real issues with it, so it works quite well, and also shows that connected across into the instrument cluster. We've got some shortcuts here, shortcuts to 360 camera, which again all work quite well. Now, one issue you've probably seen this cable flapping about. It's because this car does have CarPlay, but it's only wired. Now in 2026, most cars come with wireless CarPlay, but it's wired, so it does have the feature, but you need to keep this cable connected. And then you've got your normal CarPlay function, which cover the whole screen, and then to go back, use this MG button here. So again, a quite simple but user-friendly IVI system. It works well, has most of the functions. I think at some point they'll probably need to upgrade this from USB-A to USB-C, and hopefully at that same time they change it to wireless CarPlay, which just helps a little bit. And in this section here, we've got this gear selector. It's fairly robust feeling, which is nice. Reverse, neutral, and drive. Physical parking button, and then the handbrake here. We also have hill descent control, which is a useful feature, especially on a slightly larger vehicle. Now, one of the first things I noticed when I got in this vehicle is that the indicator torque is extremely loud. And I can't find a setting to adjust that, so it's probably something that needed to be tuned a little bit more than it has been. Now, looking at storage in this vehicle, starting at the front, we've got two USB-A ports. This one is for CarPlay or Android Auto. This one's for charging. We have two good sized cup holders here. This does overhang a little bit, so it'll fit like a can or a 500ml bottle, but nothing larger, so those extreme size thermoses are not going to fit in here. But they are spring loaded, which helps you put slightly small items in there, which is good. Moving back, we've got a wireless phone charger, which works quite well, but it's not cooled, so it does tend to overheat if it's quite a warm day as well. We've got a storage section under the armrest, quite deep for your belongings. And then moving forward, we have a good size glove box. It doesn't have a center partition, so you can put a lot of stuff in there. However, when it's full and quite heavy, it doesn't align fully, so there is a bit of gappage here, which is not very premium, but it's not a huge issue. So we've had a look at the exterior, the interior, the tech and the storage. Let's jump in and see what it's like to drive. Okay, so the MG HS, how does it drive? I've had this car for about 2 days and it is extremely comfortable. The suspension is tuned for comfort, so the drive isn't super engaging, but it's not that segment of vehicle. It's just a nice family cruiser. The seats are comfortable and the suspension's comfortable, so you can drive long distances in this and don't feel any fatigue. I mentioned before, there's a couple of perks. One is CarPlay is only wired, and the USB port are USB-A, and also the indicator tick is quite loud, but these are very minor inconveniences. The digital interfaces work well, the features work well, radio works well. It's not overly populated on the displays, and everything is where you want it to be. Now, I've mentioned on multiple reviews before, I prefer physical hard keys for climate, and again, this is no different. There are no physical keys, so you have to go into the menu, which means that if you're on CarPlay, it's a press to get to the home screen and then another press to get to the climate screen. So that isn't the best experience, but it's probably 70% of the market at the moment. A lot of cars seem to be going back towards physical switches, but we're not there yet. There are quite a few beeps in this car, which for the first few hours of driving, I didn't really know what they're beeping for, but there is the speed sign recognition, and whenever that changes, so 30 to 40 or downwards, it's just a beep to tell you it's changed. So it's not an overspeed warning as such, it's just an indication that the speed has changed. When you're on the ring road, it does pick up some of the speed signs that are off the ring road, so it's occasionally wrong, and it does beep quite a lot, but I think you can turn that off from the settings if you dive a little bit further inwards. I mentioned the instrument cluster is configurable. You can change the views, you can change the data that you see. So currently I've got on there the economy and how long I've been driving and how many miles on the average speed. You can change it to kind of standard revs and water coolant temperature, tire pressure and its individual pressures for each tire, as well as if it's charging the battery or if it's using energy. You can change it to media where you can see what station you're on, and then you can look at the accumulated total from when you reset the auto. So there's an instant one, or the one for the current drive cycle, and then one from when you reset it. I mentioned the suspension is quite soft and nicely damped. The steering is surprisingly quite heavy, so you do feel some level of engagement between where you're pointing the wheel and where the car is going. So there's a good amount of feedback. It's not massively dynamic, so when you get to faster speeds and you're trying to throw it around a bend, it does wallow a small amount, but it is quite a high vehicle and it's not tuned for dynamic driving, which is okay for this kind of vehicle. A really good feature on this car is the cameras when you're turning, kind of like a Tesla. So you indicate and it shows you on the display any blind spot that you might not be able to see, which is useful. You only get that on the trophy spec that has a 360 camera system. But overall, the drivetrain on this Hybrid Plus is smooth. I did read some online comments previously about the gearbox not being great, but I've not found those issues myself. And in terms of visibility, there is a large amount of adjustment on the seat height, so you can adjust that if you're shorter or taller. The A-pillars are of average size, but there's a good amount of 360 visibility, and the 360 cameras do help if you find it difficult to see any particular sections. As I mentioned previously, you can set these shortcuts to wherever you want. So I've set one of them to 360 cameras. So if I am in a spot that is a little bit tight, flick on 360 cameras and it just helps you navigate those tight maneuvers. The acceleration on this vehicle is pretty good for the size of the car. It's about 220 horsepower. I believe the plug-in hybrid goes around about 280. It's not rapid, but it's sufficient for what you need, or probably slightly more than sufficient. I've not been in a situation where I felt I've needed more power, so I wouldn't worry about the acceleration if that's one of your reservations about this vehicle. And again, we're on a notoriously bumpy section of road here, and the car is moving around due to the road, but all of those movements are nicely damped and there's no hard knocks through the wheels or suspension. For the size of the vehicle, and MG limiting it to 19 inches on all variants, means that you don't have any super low profile tires, which also helps the comfort. And I believe that when they reduce the number of tire size variants, it helps them to optimize drive, just because there's less variables you can have with the tires and wheel sizes. There is a nice indicator on the dash there that shows the power you're using or you're regenerating. So if I accelerate, it goes up to 30%. If I let go of the accelerator, it's now minus 18%. It shows that the energy is going back into the mild hybrid battery. The ergonomics of this car are nice. I mentioned there's a huge amount of adjustment on the seat, on the steering wheel. So where you're positioned, to where you can see, to where you're holding the steering wheel and the gear selector are all nicely managed. Turning circle is also quite sharp, as you can see there. And again, it gets up to speed in a good amount of time. I mentioned at the start of this review that the first generation MG HS came out in 2019. I did actually have one of those as a hire car for a week or so, probably 3 or 4 years ago, and I wasn't impressed at all. The ride wasn't very smooth, the engine was really clunky, and it kind of left a negative taste whenever I saw any kind of MG new models or lease deals available. But this car has changed my mind. I think it's a huge improvement in quality, refinement, attribute tuning. It's definitely a good all-round vehicle. There are a number of settings which you can adjust in accordance to your driving styles. So currently the drive mode is on normal, but there is a comfort or sport. And then your regen braking, you can have it between low, medium or high. And you can have your steering on comfort, normal or sport. Now, that all being said, I am an automotive engineer with nearly 20 years of experience. And in 2 days with this vehicle, without reading any handbook, I can't find how to enable the cruise control or adaptive cruise control. I can see on the menu, you can change the MG Pilot between speed limiter, adaptive cruise control, which is a setting that it's on now, and ICA, which I believe is intelligent speed, which is kind of adaptive based on speed signs. And I can see the toggle here on the steering wheel, which allows me to change the distance to the car in front, increase or reduce speed, but I just can't start the ACC. So either it's not working or I don't know how to do it. I'm going for the former just to not take the beep out of my own ability. But yeah, so I can't give feedback on that because let's say it doesn't work. Pressing up, nothing. Pressing down, nothing. Holding the button, nothing. Cycle right increases the length to the vehicle in front to 2, down to 1 or up to 3. But yeah, no way to enable adaptive cruise control. Let's ask the voice system. Enable cruise control. Enable cruise control.
Sorry, I still didn't get that. Please try again.
Enable adaptive cruise control.
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble understanding. You may press the talk button to try again.
It's not working. So it doesn't recognize it on the voice system to tell me how or prompt me how, and I can't find a button just to, ensure that I'm not going mad. This stalk here is purely for lighting and wiper control. This stalk is purely for, left hand drive purely for lighting control, right hand drive purely for wiper control. There are no more hidden stalks. We've got right hand side of the steering wheel, which has got phone call end. It's got a button to adjust the cluster display. It's got a favorite button which is set to climate, and then it's got station up and down, volume up and down, and its left hand side has got a steering wheel. I take it all back. The steering wheel button on the steering wheel is not a heated steering wheel button. It's for MG Pilot. Right, so if I enable that now, it's following the car in front. I've never seen a steering wheel steering wheel icon used for cruise control, but I've learned something new today. And earlier on in the review, when I said there's heated steering wheel, yes, there is heated steering wheel, but from the infotainment display, not from the display itself, not from the steering wheel itself. Okay, so that's the end of the driving section. Overall, super comfortable. Powertrain all works well, and the suspension is soft, good amount of visibility, and a good ergonomic design. Bear in mind, to start MG Pilot, it's a steering wheel icon. That's not a steering wheel heater. So taking a look at the boot, there is a kick sensor or a button here for the power tailgate, which is on the trophy spec. We've got a rolling parcel shelf cover, which is leather, which is not very common, and a good sized boot. So we have tethers for Isofix at the back. We've got this floor here which you can lift. Some additional storage there where you can hide items. It's got your puncture repair kit, tow hook, nets on that side, and net on this side to keep things from bouncing around. Now this parcel shelf does come off. However, there's nowhere to store it inside here, so if you've taken it off, you need to put it in the house. And as I normally do, I'll put in 2 large suitcases, see if they fit here with the parcel shelf installed, and then I'll take it a step further and I'll see if I can fit 2 full sets of family size suitcases, so 2 large, 2 medium and 2 small. Check how many fit. So if you're going away for a long weekend or to the airport, can this car work for you? So as you can see, we're fitting those 2 large suitcases. You can close the parcel shelf for privacy, and there is still some amount of space above those for smaller bags, jackets, etc. So that works. But what I'll do is now I'll take that a step further and see if I can fit the full sets of 3 inside. So the first thing you can see is that it doesn't go in standing up, which is going to severely hinder our chance of success. And it's because of this floor here, which you can take out and it'll give you a little bit more room in some areas, but it's not really designed to be removed as such. So we'll put them in flat and carry on. Okay, so we've managed to fit 5 out of the 6 suitcases. This one's kind of wedged in, and if the suitcases were loaded properly, this one might not fit. So it's got a reasonable amount of size of room. I'm a little bit disappointed. The main issue is the height means you can't stand up any of these suitcases, and as soon as you can't stand them up, it does limit what you're doing. Also, the rear seats are quite curved, so the only way these large suitcases can go in is flat. If you try and put them on the side, they then stick out over here. So these have to go in this direction, and then essentially it's a bit of origami or jigsaw to try and fit the rest in. So I would say 2 large and 2 medium fit very comfortably, and you can put the smaller ones in the footwells. Otherwise, you might be able to squeeze in one of those smaller ones. So it's a reasonable amount of size of room. Other vehicles in this segment probably designed a little bit more practically, but it's okay. It's probably not going to be a deal breaker, but if you are traveling regularly and need to fit in all of these or large suitcases, then bear that in mind. So we had a look at the rear seats, and I mentioned it's quite comfortable and practical. However, as it's a family car, a common use case is that it's used with Isofix child seats. So this has got Isofix tethers on the outer rears like most vehicles. So what I'll do is I'll put in 2 Isofix child seats, and I'll check the space in between those seats to see whether it's suitable for an adult or a child, or whether it's not usable at all. So I'll fit those car seats and let's see how we get on. Okay, so I'll put those in. Just a note, the Isofix clamps on this point don't have a cover or a zip, so they're actually just hidden inside the seat. Often you need to use an adapter that comes with the car seats just to avoid damaging the leather. So that's one point to note. If you don't keep those, keep them handy in the glove box when you move them around, just so that you don't damage the seat. But let's jump in and see how much space we've got. Okay, so I've managed to climb into this middle seat. Now my waist fits quite fine, and the hips, but the issue again here is with shoulders. I'm essentially wedged between these two seats, so I have to sit forward to have any sort of comfort. So if it was a 5-minute trip down to the shops or to a restaurant, I could probably sit here, but anything more than a 5-minute journey for a reasonably sized adult, it's not going to be practical. So if it's a very slim teenager, so people have different sizes, but I'd say up to a 10-year-old child could probably fit here. Anybody kind of smaller will be okay until you get to that kind of 5-6-year-old where they're in the car seat, and you're probably going to struggle to fit under the car seat in between here. So it's not the worst in class, and it probably gives a bit of a benefit over some of the other cars in this segment, and it wins a little bit. It wins back a little bit of points compared to the boot. But again, yeah, it's okay at the hips, but just the shoulders are a problem here. The MG HS comes in 4 powertrain options. All of them have a 1.5 litre turbocharged engine. The first option is a 6-speed manual. The second option is a 7-speed auto. Both of those don't have any electric or hybrid capability, and they have 169 PS of power, 202 foot-pounds of torque, and 0 to 60 in 9.4 or 9.6 seconds respectively. The manual has a maximum speed of 118 miles an hour, and the auto has a max speed of 121 miles per hour. The next option is the Hybrid Plus, or the mild hybrid, which has a small electric battery and electric motor. It gives you a combined power of 224 PS, maximum torque of 250 foot-pounds, and 0 to 62 in 7.9 seconds with a maximum speed of 118 miles per hour. And the last option is the plug-in hybrid, which has a maximum combined power of 299 PS, maximum torque of 258 foot-pounds, 0 to 62 in 6.8 seconds, and a maximum speed of 105 miles per hour. The plug-in hybrid has a battery capacity of 24.7 kilowatt hours and can give you up to 75 miles of pure electric range. The whole range is available with 2 trim options, which is the SE or the Trophy. The SE comes with MG Pilot for the ADAS features, 19-inch alloy wheels, LED headlights and rear lights, daytime running lights, auto headlights, front fog lights, rear parking camera with sensor, a 6-speaker audio system, dual 12.3-inch displays, built-in embedded sat-nav, wired Apple CarPlay and wired Android Auto, electrically adjustable seats, rear privacy glass. The Trophy comes with all of the features from the SE, as well as 360 degrees HD bird's eye camera, leather style upholstery, electrically adjustable passenger seat, heated front seats, dual zone air conditioning, power tailgate, an 8-speaker audio system, sat-nav with live services, wireless phone charging, and this Hybrid Plus model also comes with hands-free tailgate, so essentially a kick sensor. You get a driving mode selector. The plug-in hybrid variants come with a side step and up to 75 miles of electric range. The MG Pilot gives you adaptive cruise control with intelligent speed limit assist, active emergency braking, lane keep assist and lane departure warning, traffic jam assist, speed limit assist, blind zone detection with lane change assist, driver attention alert, forward collision alert, active rear cross traffic alert, and door open warning. The 6-speed manual cost £26,495. The 7-speed auto cost £28,245. The Hybrid Plus cost £29,495. And the plug-in hybrid cost £32,495. The trophy trim on each of those cost an additional £2,500. The standard free colour is white pearl. Optional colours are black pearl, sterling silver, Hampstead grey, or dynamic red. The MG HS is available with MG iSmart, which allows you to download the MG iSmart mobile application. It gives you the ability to lock or unlock the car, locate your parked vehicle, monitor fuel levels and tire pressures remotely, set climate control before your journey, and on the trophy model, preheat your seats, and also is available with a Wi-Fi hotspot. So that completes our review of the MG HS. Now, before I started driving this car, I wanted to dislike the MG, and the reason why is I've worked in the industry for over 20 years, and over the last kind of 10 years or so, it's become a thing where a Chinese company will buy a retired British marque like the MG. They will start some of the engineering in the UK, so SCIC started an engineering centre in Longbridge, and over a couple of years they then moved those jobs to China. And as somebody who works in the industry, it irks me a little bit. I know a lot of people who have lost their jobs, but the politics and that aside, looking specifically at the car, I'm mightily impressed. It's comfortable to drive, it's comfortable to sit in, the powertrain is fairly refined, it's got a good amount of room. The boot is a little bit small for the other cars in this class, but it makes up with the rear seats. And also they've concentrated a lot on premium materials even at the back, which a lot of OEMs seem to kind of miss out to try and save a bit of money. But the key points here is, between 26 and 35,000 pounds, you're going to struggle to find a car with this level of spec, feature, comfort and size for that amount of money. So if you're in the market for kind of a C segment SUV and you don't want to go fully premium, this is definitely one you should go and consider. Multiple powertrain options. If you want to save a bit of money, the plug-in hybrid, which I haven't personally tested yet, is probably the one to go for, especially if you're doing a lot of short journeys. Charging at home, you can save a lot of money. But overall, a very good car. So pop down to your dealership and take a look. This is Anonymous Automotive. Please like, subscribe and follow for more content like this.